On today's episode of the RAG podcast, I was joined by Pete Watson. Pete joined me not so long ago, actually. He's the founder of Mint R2R, a rec-to-rec based in Australia that specialise in helping people move to Australia from the UK. And we talked already about Pete's business and his journey. And I really wanted to bring him back on the show because he's been doing a lot of work with Hoxo. He's been helping us introduce our brand to the Australian marketplace, specifically with our Academy product. And having got to know him, got to know him a lot more recently. He dropped a comment in one of our calls about the fact that he hasn't drank any alcohol in 8 years. And when I probed on it, he told me a little bit, but it was quite a big thing for him. And I asked I've pestered him a little bit, but I've asked if he was prepared to tell us why he doesn't drink and what his experience has been like, to round up our human series on the RAG. Because I think alcoholism is everyone thinks about Alcoholics Anonymous and people that are absolutely drinking all day every day as being the only people with problems. But many of us struggle with alcohol, especially in the recruitment industry. It's an industry driven by high performance individuals that like to go out and socialize and billers lunches and clubs and parties and all the things that come with the job. Maybe not so much in lockdown, but maybe people are drinking at home more now. But the point is, I think it's fair to say across our industry, alcohol is quite a big factor in a lot of the cultures inside our organizations. And I think there's plenty of people out there who are struggling with that and would like to have a break from alcohol, potentially even quit alcohol full time. And speaking to Pete, we got a really, really good understanding of why he quit alcohol. And he told us the story of what it's been like since, and it was incredible. So personally, I enjoyed it. I've had my own interesting journey with alcohol. I've never quit full time, but I've had plenty of breaks in the last 5 years, and I continually do because I prefer my life without it, if I'm honest, but I'm not quite ready to give it up full time as yet. So we talk at length for at least an hour on this. I hope this resonates and you can learn and hopefully benefit from this story that Pete told us about himself. Without further ado, Pete, welcome back to the RAG podcast.
Oh, we're into it. Sorry, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, we're in.
What an amateur. Hey, you wouldn't think I've got my own podcast show, would you?
You wouldn't.
Like an amateur.
You're meant to be a pro, mate, but you're showing you're an amateur. Well, welcome back.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
been,
Thank you.
when did we shot? We did the first one. Was it about May, June time?
Yeah. During, you were doing your back-to-back podcasts, speaking to everybody about their COVID experience and
the daily stuff. Yeah, I stopped doing the daily in June. I literally was losing the plot. I was like, I'm already grey. I'm going to be bald as well if I carry on at this. So,
yeah.
I had a break from that. Well, look, it's good to have you back on. How's life been for you in the last few weeks?
Good, mate. Good. So yeah, when I spoke to you, we were just going into the dark days of lockdown 2.0 here in Melbourne, and we've done it. We've ground it out. We've survived, and we are definitely coming out the other end. And numbers are ridiculously low. The numbers that we're experiencing are probably the same as you get in like Rochdale or something. It's just
not even
just
that. Not Rochdale, in like one office. So like, one of my mates got 7 of them in a business of 9. Got it last week. So like, really? You're talking about the whole of state Victoria like that.
We've had 7 in total in the whole of Victoria over the last 3 days.
Yeah, that's not. And that is confirmed cases, nothing else. They're just people that have tested positive. Wow.
Correct.
That is incredible.
Like 2 deaths.
Interestingly, though, so obviously you're doing a lot of work with us now, Pete, part of Hoxo Media in Australia and helping us take the business over there, which has been amazing. But it's funny, like the people that you've introduced me to through the Academy, we got a lot of them in Melbourne, but there's also Sydney and Brisbane and Perth. And it is incredible how different the experience is in each state. Like one of the ladies in Anita in Perth is like, there's events going on, like thousands of people meeting up in events in Perth. Absolutely no COVID worry at all. Then you've got Sydney and Brisbane that are kind of in the middle, and then you guys are, it's
like being in a different country. It really is. It really is. And the rest of the country has nothing but pity for us.
I bet. But I imagine their cases you're going to have to keep those borders locked, because if you guys come back out after all that time, and then someone from Brisbane, Sydney, or whatever comes in and starts infecting, like that would defeat the whole object, wouldn't it?
Without a doubt. There was an aeroplane came in from, so we've now got a bubble with New Zealand, and they were bringing flights in from New Zealand, and I think 50 plus people from that flight from New Zealand somehow, without being challenged, managed to get on a bus or a car or a train, whatever, to Melbourne. And suddenly we've got 50 plus people from New Zealand in Melbourne, and they weren't even checked anywhere. And it's that easy. That easy.
It sounds crazy for you, but like, you know, in the UK, we've got flights landing every minute of every day with no checks. So it's there's no testing capability. It's a different world, mate. A different world. Well, look, we're not really, the plan for today wasn't really to talk about COVID. As I said, you've been doing a lot of work with us. So I've got to know you really well over the last few months, which has been great fun. And, you know, we've shared some stories offline, and you told me something not long ago, a couple of weeks ago, that I've really thought about, and I'm really pleased you said yes, because as soon as I heard you say it, I was like, that. Even though I'm moving away from the podcast being all about the personal stories, we're not moving away. I want to bring some new things to the show. When I found out about this, what you told me, I was like, that's something I want to talk about. I'd love to bring to the market and just air, because I think it's a really interesting or really relevant topic. So I'm just going to go out and say it. Like you mentioned, you gave up alcohol 8 years ago. So you've not drank a single drop for 8 years, which is, firstly, it's an incredible achievement, I think, for anyone to do that, unless they've never drank. But I'd love to find out. I still don't know the story. I know you. Anyone who gives up alcohol for that long, clearly there's some form of story behind it. So, tell us what's going on. So let's go backward. Like, what was your drinking like growing up? Was it a big part of your life?
And look, and that's where it starts, right? That's where it starts. So I was raised in West Cumbria, which is pretty working class industrial corner of the world. Yeah. And all we do in Cumbria is play rugby, fight, drink, and chase women. And I wasn't very good at any of them, including drinking. But that doesn't stop us doing it from an early age. So. Yeah. I think we were, I was trying to think about this today. I think we first ventured into pubs, and this is not unique to Cumbria. This happens all over the world. Yeah. But we first ventured into pubs when we were like 13 and 14, getting the big lads to buy us drinks. And then we were regulars in the pubs from 15. Yeah. And by the time you're 16, 17 years old, you're in the pubs, 4 or 5 nights a week. And it's an incredibly unhealthy way to start life.
Adult life. Yeah.
No, we all have. A lot of us have sport in our life, and I was playing rugby, but my rugby career didn't exactly take off, and then it just gets substituted with unfortunately for me and a lot of people that I hung out with drinking. And then you go to university, and the drinking habit is well and truly.
Where did you go uni?
Into who you are. And sorry, mate.
Where'd you go uni?
Bolton.
Really?
It wasn't even a university when I was there, mate. It was an institute of higher education.
Ah, okay.
But it's now a university, I'm proud to say. And then I don't need to tell you how hard students drink. And so you've been drinking solidly for 10 years.
You get to your early 20s. Yeah, I remember. I think I said this on one of a recent show with Amma, was because I met Amma, my business partner, at uni in the first week. I came home back to Manchester at Christmas, so I left Sheffield. I went to Sheffield, which isn't far, but it's far enough that you're away from home, but it's close enough. To be fair, everyone from my college was in Sheffield pretty much. So I recognised those people. We went out all the time. I came back, and I reckon I must have put on 2 stone in 3 months. So from 11 stone, which was like my natural weight as an 18-year-old, that I'd never, for 2 years at college, I'd not fluctuated. Probably came back about 13 stone by Christmas, and everyone was like, the fuck have you done? Like, you look like a different person. And I was like, I'd not know. It was so gradual because you were drinking all the time, and everyone was probably putting weight on at a certain pace. I came back home with my mates hadn't even been to uni, and I was like, oh God.
And you think about the calories that are in a pint of lager.
Yeah.
and you go out and have 7, 8, 9, 10 pints in one night and do
And then
that
you
3,
end up
4
with a
nights a week.
takeaway. And you end up with a takeaway on the way home.
Yeah, takeaway. Yeah. So that, I suppose that was the start of my drinking career. But I suppose I recognised early on that in my gang of lads, in my gang of mates, I was, if I'm honest, I was always the one who got drunk the earliest in the evening. I was always the one who, maybe had to bail out earlier in the evening because I just couldn't hold it the same as everybody else.
Yeah.
So my ability to drink was just rubbish. But back then, like when you're a teenager in your early 20s, you almost wear that as a badge of honor. Now you wake up the following morning, you can't remember what you did, and your mates say to you, "Oh my God, Pete, did you see you last night?" And it's a bit of banter, it's a bit of fun, and I remember almost wearing it as a badge of honor, as I did with my mates who got drunk. So you didn't really, you never put it in the box of being a problem.
No.
Because it's just part of life. And what else were you going to do? The concept and the thought of not drinking was just ludicrous. But then do that for many, many, many years, and eventually it stops being fun, and it becomes a bit tiresome. And every time it happens, every time you do drink, you do try and keep it with everybody else, you wake up full of remorse, shame, regret.
Well, when we go into like recruitment life, what age were you when you got into recruitment again?
Mid-20s.
Yeah. So and you were in Manchester, were you? Was that where you?
And again, the S3 group.
Yeah.
And you were
boozy.
actively encouraged to go out and get smashed on a Thursday night, and I did. I couldn't believe that I was working for a company and in an industry that condoned and encouraged that kind of behaviour. We were going on a Thursday night and we were expected to go hard. But then we were told that if we weren't at our desk at 8:30 in the morning, we were in trouble. So you'd walk into the office on Friday morning and there'd be feet sticking out from underneath the desk where people had slept under their desks because they were terrified of losing their jobs by not being at their desks. So again, the habit and the lifestyle just continues and continues.
I went from being a school teacher to a recruiter. So I noticed a major difference. So I was probably my fittest and healthiest as a school teacher. I was a PE teacher. I went from being a student where I drank all the bloody time to being a teacher in a school that was just outside the city centre of Sheffield. No pubs nearby. Like it was on schools are usually on housing estates. It was in the middle of this like tough housing estate. I don't think, maybe at Christmas and then at the summer, like end of term, maybe you might go for a few beers, like literally 2 beers or 1 beer and drive home because everyone drives as teachers. So there was no social life at all. I was 23, 24. I was playing a lot of serious football, but I was drinking on Saturday nights every week. I'd go out and get absolutely smashed every Saturday, like without fail. But it didn't affect me that much because it was once a week. And my diet was really regimented in school and I was doing all the exercise. I was in good shape. I felt good. But then I got into recruitment in Melbourne and there was a few major differences. Was one, my diet like regimen, because you're in a school canteen, we used to get given, as a PE teacher, we used to get given meals because we used to do a lot of extracurricular stuff. I used to eat at the exact same times, the same sort of food every single day. As a recruiter in Melbourne, you've got Collins Street has got so many options. Like I was out, eating sushi one day, then it'd be sandwiches, and it'd be slices of pizza, and I was drinking full fat coffee, milk. Like I'd never drank coffee and tea really in as a teacher. So I'm having 3 or 4 of them a day. That's all calories. And then probably 2-3 nights a week we'd go for a few beers. Yeah. Thursdays you'd get smashed. Fridays we'd get smashed. Saturdays we'd get smashed. And it was back to being like a semi-student again, I felt. And again, I on a Friday in the Rialto in Randstad, it was, they used to just, the beers would flow at about 4 o'clock and you'd all have a big wrap up and it'd be, have a drink. Teachers never did that. You had to pay for your own. So I felt that as strange. It wasn't that sort of culture where you'd stay in your desk, sleep at your desk type. Randstad wasn't like that, but it was definitely, I just did, we just went out ourselves. But So,
but yeah, and look, and you're young, right? You're young, and you can get it. You think you can get away with it. You think your body can handle it. You think your mind can handle it. And again, the concept of not drinking is just
strange,
ridiculous,
yeah.
ridiculous, until it gets to a point where you have to start acknowledging that, you know, this thing in your life, this very, very regular presence in your life, is not good for you on many levels.
When can you remember, like, the first time, or is it, you got any memories of clocking, yeah, this is getting a bit out of hand, or I'm not enjoying this anymore as much?
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, it's a journey, right? I mean, yeah, I was, you know, drinking from the age of like I say 15 through to the age of 39, and obviously in this chat here today, we can't break all that down. It'd be the most boring podcast ever. But you go through you go on a journey, and people start saying things. It's no longer a badge of honor. You start to acknowledge and recognize that there's no fun in it anymore.
Where's your life at this point? Where's your life? Like, paint the picture for us. Like, what's going on in your life?
I mean, all right. So fast forward to Melbourne, where I am now. So I moved to Melbourne 13 years ago to essentially start a family.
Mm-hmm.
And you start a family, and that's a whole new chapter. You've got responsibilities, but you know, I was still drinking, and I was still rubbish at it, and I still hated it, but it was still regular in my life. And you know, the sense of shame and regret and remorse every time you drank, every time the hangover was stopping you being the person that you wanted to be and the parent that you wanted to be, and it starts getting to the point where you have to deal with it. You have to acknowledge it. Mm-hmm. I think if something in your life is a massive negative, I mean, look, so there's different connotations and different kind of categories of what a drink problem is, right? And I'm not going to try and categorize what mine was versus what somebody else might have. But if something in my life is a problem for me, then it's a drink problem, and I'm happy to wear that. And eventually, you know, I tried the whole drinking in moderation. I tried various things, but ultimately, it is just being sick of living with shame and remorse.
So when you say shame and remorse, like, give me an example. What do you mean? So you'd go out, what, Thursday night, Friday night, what would happen? And when you'd wake up, like, tell us a bit more about that.
Well, I mean, I can tell you what the straw was that broke the donkey's back. This was 8 years ago. So I'd obviously I work in Rec to Rec, and lots of UK recruiters come to Australia, right? Yeah. And I used to go over. I used to do loads of advertising for UK recruiters who want to come and live in Australia, and then I'd fly to the UK and I'd meet them. And yeah, it was going to see my family, but it was to try and pick up some candidates as well. I remember 8 years ago, I really pushed hard, a real campaign to get to meet as many UK recruiters as I could. And I remember I'd organised 23 candidate meetings in London and Manchester over the space of a week. Okay. And I was going to meet them all. I was going to blow them away with my market knowledge, and I was going to place them all into Australia. It was going to be a beautiful thing. And I suppose I got to England. You know, I was a young dad. You know, parental pressures and all the rest of it. I'll be honest. Just getting to England, getting to London, I just cut loose and I just caught up with the lads and hit it quite hard. And subsequently, I spent most of that week either very, very hungover or very, very drunk. And I just started cancelling all those meetings. All those 23 candidates, they all got a half-assed, pathetic text message from me blaming man flu, yes, saying, I caught something on the plane, I can't make it, I can't meet you, I'm so sorry. And I remember one particular guy, he said, but you've come all the way from Australia to meet me. Or no, you come all the way from Australia to meet us. He'd booked a day off work. He was going to come in from Wimbledon to meet me. It was quite a big deal for him because he really, really wanted to move to Australia. And then he got a text message from me saying, yeah, sorry, mate, I've got man flu. I thought I picked it up on the plane. And I'm lying in a hotel room, hungover. I can barely speak. That's why I'm texting him. And the whole week was wasted. And I got back on the plane, just devastated with myself.
I'm interrupting this podcast to give you another update from our sponsor, Odro. The team at Odro have launched another feature in summer 2020, and it's going to be a game changer. This is going to massively change the way the recruitment agency market operates globally for the future. They've called it Odro Producer. This platform sits alongside the company's award-winning video interview opportunity and gives you, the recruiter, the ability to create engaging, eye-catching video content ready to share in a matter of minutes. So you can record or upload a video, and then you can add banners, overlays, images, subtitles, logos, so that you can create these eye-catching videos that are built for LinkedIn. So whether you're interviewing, whether you're doing sales messaging, or you're just trying to put out valuable content online, then Odro is no longer just a video interview platform. It's also a content creation platform for recruiters. Get in touch with Odro today to see how you can implement this into your recruitment agency ASAP. Thanks for listening. Let's get back to the show.
The whole week was wasted. And I got back on the plane, just devastated with myself. Really, not only had I let myself down, but I'd let my family down. I'd let all those candidates down. I didn't place any of those candidates. It was an absolutely wasted effort. And
did you enjoy? Just sorry to stop you, but did you enjoy the time you were drinking? Like, were you like loving life when you were out? Was it that good for you that when you were out?
No. Because going back to what I said earlier, I was never very good at drinking. So I remember meeting my mates in Covent Garden, and you enjoy the first few hours, and then I'm drunk, and I was never a good drunk. I'm not life and soul of the party. I just go quiet.
Really? So you don't get aggressive, or there's no like?
No, there's no aggressive. It's just boring. I mean,
I'm a bit like, I've always been the guy that I see. I don't get that drunk that quick. I've always been quite good at holding it, but I also go more quiet when I'm drunk. So I've always been loud when I'm sober, like, telling stories, like this guy at the table who's telling, like, doing daft voices and all that. And then it's funny, as the night goes on, everyone else starts to raise the voice and my level goes down. Yeah. And then I'm the guy, actually, the guy who's got the keys. Like, people say, give Sean the keys. If you want to make sure you get home, give them to Sean. He'll make sure you get home, kind of thing. I can kind of stabilize my night quite well. I know my limit. I've always known where to stop. But it is funny. I'm the same. I just don't get louder. I get quieter.
But that's the thing with me. I was also the guy who thought I was okay. I'm not drunk. I'm fine. I'm at that lovely level. I'll keep drinking. I'll keep pushing it, and then I will just go. And so I got back from that business trip, just devastated with myself. But then I realized, the realization was I hadn't been in control, not only of that week in London and Manchester. I'd known how important it was. I'd known how much effort I put into it, to organizing it. Trying to get 23 people to meet you in the space of a week from the other side of the world is no mean feat. And I couldn't control it. I didn't have the willpower to treat it with the respect that it deserved. So I had to conclude and had to start coming to terms with the fact that it was starting to become a problem, and it was starting to become beyond my control. And essentially, you're also, you're letting your family down. You're letting yourself down. You're letting your family down.
So when you got back, what did you do? Like, how did you make the decision?
I remember. So I came back via Dubai airport. I remember I actually got it because I was so hungover. But the only thing that's going to make me feel better is a pint. So I had a pint of Heineken at Dubai airport. And I remember finishing it and putting it down. I remember just looking at this pint of lager, this empty pint of lager, looking at it and going, that's it. That's the last beer I'll ever have. And then got back and thought, shit, now I've got to stop drinking. And
And
I
Melbourne,
declared
like
it.
it's quite a boozy culture as well, isn't it? It's not much different. Like, I
Yeah,
remember, weather's out, have a beer. It's barbecue beer. Like the culture's similar, if not just as boozy as the UK.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, so then I came back and it was just a white knuckle ride. It was ultimately it was just good old fashioned willpower. And I think at the time I said, right, that's it. I'm never going to drink again because I'd gone through years of trying to drink in moderation
Had
and
you
not
ever
having.
done like a month's break or anything before that?
Yeah, I would do that. I would do that with reasonable success. But for me, it was I suppose if I was categorized myself, I was a binge drinker. I would just give myself. I would drink if I was in a great mood. I would drink if I was in a bad mood. I would drink if I was sleep deprived because of the kids. I would drink if the kids had a great night's sleep. In celebration. I would and it would just be too
Were you
much.
drinking at home?
Yeah, yeah, drinking at home, and again, even in a confined kind of controlled environment, I still occasionally, manage to drink too much, and yeah, just whenever I went into a situation thinking I'm not going to drink that much, I'm going to keep a lid on it, I would fail to do so, and so everybody's got different opinions and I suppose images of what somebody with a drink problem looks like. I wasn't drinking out of bottles of whiskey in a brown paper bag in the park, but my drinking was damaging my life, my family life, affecting my life, my family life, my business, my health, um, my sanity, because it was.
It's the mental side is some. I mean, the physical is quite visible, right? When you booze a lot, you'll always have a bit more weight on you. Like it's just going to happen. It's calories,
Yeah.
dead calories. But the mental side that no one sees, I can empathize so much that when you go out and you drink, you can take days. It can take a couple of days to, depending on how much you've had. You can go out on a Saturday and you could still feel shit by Tuesday.
Oh, but the other part of it is the effect on your self-respect and your self-confidence,
Mm.
because you think to yourself, if I can't control this, um, does that make me weak? And the conversations that you have are just ludicrous. And then you think, well, if I can't control it, does that mean I'm an alcoholic? Oh my God, if I'm an alcoholic, I don't deserve to be a parent, and all these crazy things that go through your mind. Um, and ultimately, it just came down to wisdom. Wisdom, is that the right word? I just got older, and I just knew that it's very simply, if there's a negative in your life, you simply have to remove it.
A final interruption to today's episode to introduce Vincere. Vincere is the all-in-one CRM ATS platform built for the recruitment and staffing industry. Now, I first heard about these guys about a year ago. The amount of prospect recruitment agencies and clients I was working with that were telling me they were moving over to Vincere, I had to look into it. And what I found was a business that had a global reach with multiple offices around the world. So they've got this follow the sun methodology, which allows them to support recruitment businesses wherever you are and be in your time zone. But the technology that they've invested in is becoming a disruptor in the space. More and more recruitment businesses are doing this to give their recruiters a competitive advantage. They broke into the G2 Crowd's momentum grid as a market leader based on their reviews from their customers. So the agencies that are using this platform are raving about it. Now, if you're a RAG listener and you're thinking about changing CRM, or you're a new business looking to launch with a new CRM, then I would get in touch with these guys, because if you mention that you're a RAG listener, they're doing an amazing deal. By visiting www.vincere.io/RAG, you can get an exclusive deal which offers 2 months completely free on a 2-year commitment, or 3 months completely free on a 3-year commitment. This applies to all licenses that you've either signed up for now or that you'll add in the duration of the contract. So get on there and have a look. Finally, if you're listening and you're a recruiter and you're thinking, I want to move into a more of a business development role, and I'd like to keep hold of my recruitment knowledge. Well, these guys are recruiting for a BD person, well, multiple roles in both Sydney and London right now. So if you've got a strong recruitment background, you want to move into BD and you want to work for a fast moving tech business that's helping people like you right now, then get in touch via their website because they're hiring today. Back to the show.
It's very simply, if there's a negative in your life, you simply have to remove it. Whatever method you use is entirely up to you. And this isn't a evangelical kumbaya moment, because I look at people who drink, and I look at people who drink in moderation, and I look at people who are happy drunks, and I look at people who enjoy drinking. And I'm not envious of them. I'm not jealous of them, but I hold no grudge with them. I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
But that wasn't me.
No,
that wasn't me. It wasn't. Alcohol in my life was a negative for many, many years. And I haven't drank for 8 years.
So tell me a bit more about that then. So what was it really, because that's the thing. I think loads of people would say, I'd love to quit. But the reality is, one, could I do it? Willpower, not sure. Two, social situations, like every time you go to a restaurant, a bar, an event, a wedding, a party, like alcohol is ingrained in Western society culture. You celebrate everything with alcohol. Like, if someone's birthday, get pissed. Someone's had a baby, get pissed. Someone's, baptized, get pissed. Someone else dies, let's go and get pissed. Like, it is literally the way we are bred to celebrate or commiserate anything. And I think the biggest challenge for people is I've done it. I had a break in 2015. I wasn't anywhere near the point that you got to, clearly, because I've not given up entirely, but I've never drank the same since 2015. I got on a train. So it was my brother's 30th, I think. Is it his 30th? Yeah, it would have been. No, his 31st, 30th, something around his 30th anyway. And I jumped on a train to Manchester, went and had a night out. And I remember getting up at about 7 a.m, having the shittest sleep ever. I had to come back to London. It was a Sunday morning and it was early. I was like, I've had such a crap sleep, I'm just going to go. So I got the train from Manchester to London, and at Wilmslow, which is 2 stops, this family got on the train, and they were Spanish, I think. And this woman got on with her husband and 2 young children, and they were full of life, right? They were literally ripping up baguettes and putting meat into it and salad. And I kept hearing them talk about Londres, which must be London. And they were just like full of life. And I am sat in this seat, like against the window, like just like hugging the window, feeling empty. I've not eaten. I felt like sweaty. I was bloated. And mentally, my mind is just like, these people are looking at me, that they're watching. What am I doing? And I said to myself that day, I was like, I Googled it, alcohol-free life. And I found this guy called James Swanwick, who does this 30-day no alcohol. He's an Aussie guy. He lived in London, lived in America at the time. And he did this 30-day no alcohol challenge, which I didn't actually do officially with him, but I just said, I'm going to do it. So I did a 32-day break back in 2015. That felt like such a massive achievement. And then ever since then, I've been on and off. I always have breaks. I drink. Like, most people meet me and they're like, are you drinking at the minute or not? And I'll be like, nah, not right now. Okay. Like at the minute, I got back from Ibiza 4 weeks ago. I've not had a drink since. I'm not going to till Christmas, I said, at least. So I'm kind of playing with, I can see myself going to where you are, but I don't think I'm there yet. There's nothing, but I've never, it's just been, I don't like the weight I put on. I don't actually like the feeling of being pissed. I don't enjoy it that much. I prefer to be switched on and alert. But I love the social side of drinking. I love being in a pub with my mates. I love the camaraderie, the collect. Like, do you know when you're buying each other rounds? There's something in that.
100%.
And like even yesterday, I met with my mate, and I had a 0% beer. I had a few of them, and that's the game changer.
Really?
That's my saving grace. I love the taste of beer. I love the camaraderie. And when you buy a 0%. They look the same. People instantly just feel like you're drinking. They don't. Whereas if you're sat with a glass of water or a lemonade, I can see people are like, you're going to drink that all day kind of attitude. What's your, how do you do it?
So look, it's interesting because it's a game of 2 halves. I mean, the first half is your life of drinking. You've done that. You've failed, or it wasn't successful, and you move on to the second half, and that's the second half of being. I don't even call myself anything. I don't call myself teetotal. I don't call myself sober. I don't actually have a name for what it is that I am. Let's just call me teetotal. So
Yeah.
the second half is teetotal, and that's a journey as well. Because if you'd asked me to do this podcast, I know we didn't know each other back then, but if you'd asked me to do this podcast 6 years ago, 2 years into my sobriety, I would have denied that I knew what you were talking about. Like, mate, what are you asking me that for? I drink, don't worry about me. I'm one of the boys. I'd be embarrassed. I'd be awkward. I'd be ashamed. If you asked me to do it 2 years ago, 6 years into my sobriety, I'd still be, oh, look, it's nobody's business. It's just my thing. Like, I don't really like talking about it. Still a little bit awkward, still a bit embarrassed about it. You asked me to talk about it now. I'm ridiculously proud of I don't even call it an achievement. I just call it a decision.
I think it's an achievement. I think it's an achievement. I think the fact, it's the fact that you felt your life was not moving where you wanted it to be and you made a conscious change and stuck at it. That's achievement in my book.
Yeah, look, it was just necessary. It had to be done, because what I was.
Sorry, you just said that 2 years in you would have denied it. So how did you get around social life at that point? What were you doing?
I struggled. I was rubbish. If I went to dinner parties or bars, I'd be awkward. I'd be making excuses to leave early. I was rubbish. I was probably worse sober 2 years in than I would be if I was drinking. I was
what did you say to people? You're like, I'm driving, or did you always have an excuse why you wouldn't have a beer?
I'd make excuses. I would never own it. I would never own it. But if somebody talks to me now about, if I'm with a stranger and they ask me if I want a beer, I'll say no, I'll have a Coke. And if they say why, I'll quite comfortably now say, well, I don't drink. And you will be amazed that, I don't know, I think I can only remember 2 people, and that they were actually back in London years ago, who said stupid things in response to that. Most people will go, all right, really? Cool. They will either brush it off and not really give a toss, or what is always really interesting is that they show an interest. So you open up and you talk about it, and you can just see them thinking, I need to understand this, because this is something that's occurred to me. This is something that I've thought about.
You're putting a mirror up to people, aren't you, a little bit, and
Absolutely.
Making them think. See, I don't think I've had, when I'm not drinking, again, I did 75 days in March till mid-June, right? So that's 11 weeks I didn't drink. Obviously we're in lockdown, but whenever I've done it, I don't think the people that you meet that are strangers, clients and stuff, I don't think they're the problem. It's the people you've known for longer. And maybe you don't have as much of that in us. But for me, if I go back to London, where my mates that I landed in London with, it was like about 7 of us that always went out. We've got like our own WhatsApp group and stuff. They're used to it now. But the first time I said, they were like, what? And then it was constantly, come on, go on, have one. And a couple of times they bought me a drink at the row when I didn't want it. And they'd put it down and they'd be like, go on, you can't have it. I don't fucking want it. So I didn't drink it. But I was one of them at school. I was the kid who said no to cigarettes, like never touched them. And I was comfortable saying, nah. So when it comes to when I commit to not drinking, I've got no shame in saying I'm not drinking tonight. But I've never committed to saying I don't drink. That's something I've never said because I've not got to that point yet. My brother stopped drinking in December. Well, New Year's Eve, he had a pint of Guinness, and then he said he's doing 1 year no beer. There's another thing going out there called 1 year no beer. He's doing that, and he looks great. He comes across better. Like it's been a funny year, probably a good year not to drink because of what's going on. It keeps your headspace. But
if I had to go back to Cumbria and walk into a pub where all my old mates are and say that. I know what I suspect I know what they would say, and it wouldn't be very nice, but that'd be fine. 5 years ago I probably couldn't have handled it. I'd just run out.
So did you then massively rip your social life apart then? You didn't have much of a social life for those years?
I probably hid for a few years, but when I started to realize that people don't actually give a shit.
No.
That was something I needed. I needed to stop caring what people thought. But because of where I'm from, the thought of a bloke not drinking, it's kind of alien and it's silly. And I'm embarrassed to even say that out loud. But you go through a period thinking, well, what will people think? Will my life be boring? And yeah, do you know what? Maybe my life is boring, but I'm healthy and I'm a good parent
What is
and
the
I'm better
difference
at my
then?
job.
So what are the differences that you would say? Because I think there's people listening to this now going, all right, Pete, we know you've stopped. Like, what's so good about it? Like,
Yeah.
tell us what's the difference in your life?
Well, there's actually positives and there's negatives. To be honest with you, there's the health benefits. I mean, I exercise every day. My mind is clear. I'm present for my children. I work hard. Nothing gets in the way. All of the problems that used to come with alcohol, they would just hinder and cloud everything, and that's all gone. It's all gone. It's like magic dust. But then at the same time, you have to deal with life on life's terms.
Yeah. You can't
If I
escape.
have there's no escape. I actually have no escape, and again, that's fine because that's the life I've chosen. It's pros and cons. It's pluses and negatives. But if I have a bad day at work, I can't take myself up to the pub and get drunk. It's a choice I've made. So you have to sit in the moment. You could argue that that's a negative, but it's probably a positive because you wake up in the morning, the problem's still there, but you don't have a massive, horrible hangover and you haven't made a dick of yourself and you haven't argued with the people.
Well, I went out once for my birthday in August and got pretty smashed. And after I hadn't drank, like I say, I'd not drank since March, since lockdown. I'd had a couple of beers in mid-June when I finished my 75 days. And I'd had, again, sporadic beers and not been drunk, nowhere near drunk. And then I got leathered in August, like absolutely like till 3 a.m. drunk. And the Saturday fear I had, the anxiety I had Saturday and Sunday, because it was the Friday night we went out, was incredible. Like it was just literally mind-blowing how bad I felt. And I then went to Ibiza for 5 weeks and I didn't get pissed between my birthday and Ibiza. That was only like the week after. But I had beer a lot in Ibiza, like because the weather's hot and it's cold and it tastes great. I was having like 2 or 3 beers most days, I think. And when you do that for 5 weeks, I came back feeling bloated. I felt sluggish. My brain wasn't as good. If you listen back to my podcast a few weeks ago, you might say, hey, he wasn't actually on form. I don't know. But I didn't feel great. I came back to the UK and I had to isolate anyway. So I isolated for 2 weeks and I said, I'm not drinking till the end of October, which is nearly there now. And I've not touched it. And now I've said till Christmas, I'm not going to drink this year. So till the end of the year. But I do feel like I'm going to end up where you are. I don't know if I'm there yet, but I do think 0% beer is my savior. Like that's the thing that like, I love it. I absolutely love it. Have you tried it or do you not touch it? Or
No, see that to me would feel, this is going to sound nuts, right? But that to me would sound like I was cheating, breaking the rules, tempting fate. And I don't need to. I don't need to do that. My poison is lemon, lime, and bitters. Yeah. And you go out and you have a night out and you end up drinking 8 pints of lemon, lime, and bitters. mate, it ain't good. It ain't good. Yeah. But my motivation to do this now, when you asked me to do this, and I know, I haven't really counted, but I know of at least half a dozen people that I've spoken to in the last 12 to 18 months. So when you have this conversation with them, they confide, they say, oh man, I would love to stop drinking. How do you do it? What's involved? What are the benefits? So I know that there's people out there who want to do it. And this is not me preaching. It's not me being all kumbaya, evangelical, teetotal is the only way to go, because for some people drinking is awesome and fair play to them. But there are plenty of people out there, particularly during COVID, who will be probably drinking more than they want to and realizing at this particular point in history that drinking for them isn't working anymore. And I suppose, in my own humble way, I would like to say to them that there is life after alcohol. Your life doesn't end when you stop drinking. The positives far outweigh the negatives. If you want it, if you're at a certain stage of life, if you're ready to stop drinking and then you stop drinking, it's fucking brilliant. There's 4 or 5 things in my life that I'm very proud of, and stopping drinking is number 2.
Yeah, I can see I think I mean I can see it in your face the way you're saying it, but I can see it from my own experience. I always feel like when I eventually have a drink after my breaks, I feel guilty instantly. Like I instantly feel like you've cracked. You shouldn't have done. Like it's like but then once you get into it again for a few weeks, you get back sucked into and what I think I don't like about drinking is the lack of control. Most of us have in when and how we drink. So for example, going to a bar after work where you weren't even planning on, when you might have a gym session in the morning, you've planned, and someone's like, have a beer, and you're like, oh. But I was getting to a point where I couldn't say no in those situations. I was like, yeah, all right, I'll have one. And then he'd have three, and then you wouldn't want, I wouldn't even be pissed, but you wouldn't want to go gym at 7 a.m. and you'd probably have a slightly worse breakfast than you would have. And, you'd eat more sugary shit the next day. And it just is a spiral that, I think it's amazing that you're prepared to talk about it. Leisha, who I had on recently as well, who talked about how her husband came out as gay during their relationship, which was just incredible story. And she's so strong for saying it. She said she stopped drinking as well a couple of years ago. And that
must be a rec to rec thing.
Maybe yeah. Thing. You get that much abuse, you guys, that you
the stresses of the job.
Maybe, yeah. Well, I do think. I mean, look, I think recruiters, we're natural communicators. We're bubbly, we're outgoing, and we're networkers. And when you network, you drink, you party, you meet. That's kind of, and like you said, a lot of the cultures in these bigger recruitment companies is go out, network with your teams, go meet your clients. Like they push you out the door. So it's so common for recruiters to be drinking a few nights a week and probably going, is this healthy? Especially when you get to a certain age in part of your life. Sorry to interrupt, but the people that I know who are at the end of their tether with it are not those people. It's not the people who are out entertaining and partying and having fun. It's the people in their 30s and 40s who are drinking at home. Yeah. And they're like, what am I doing? Why do I have to drink that bottle of red on a Wednesday night? Just say no, but they can't say no. They're drinking, and Thursday morning they're full of remorse. And those are the people who are getting closer to doing what I did. Yeah, that's true. That is true. See, I've never been that guy. I've never drank at home, really. Like the odd beer, but like I'd never sit there and drink a bottle of wine or even a spirit or anything like that. So I can't. I actually struggle to empathize with that. But I imagine, that would hurt. Like that would hurt a lot if you're not even going out and not even socializing, and then just
And when you wake up in the morning and you think, why the hell did I do that? Why the hell did I not have the control to leave that bottle in the cupboard? That's when it becomes, the balance is tipping. And those are the people, right? If anybody's watching this and there's anybody in Australia who don't want to go down there, because when you decide to stop drinking and you contemplate the avenues to the solution, they're all quite daunting, right? I don't know, what have you got? You got therapy, get bloody hypnotized, you can go to AA, whatever it is, it's all quite daunting and some of it's quite expensive. What a lot of people might not have is just a bloke that they can ring up who won't judge them, who won't charge them, who won't preach to them. That's me. If anybody's watching this,
do you know what you should do, Pete? And I'd love to be a part. Is maybe even think about setting up a WhatsApp group or something for people that would want to share, like only for invite only people that talk to you. Because I think I could imagine your time would get rinsed if you offered everyone the opportunity to talk to you. But this could grow into something this could grow into something of recruiters, recruitment owners, leaders, people that are at that point in their life where they want to be able to talk freely and in some kind of network or group. So
I would love to think that some kind of movement could start out, but I suspect it wouldn't. This is a very, if I'm honest, if I'm using myself as a case study, this is such a private, secretive world, and people only really come out of it when they're ready and when they run out of options.
But I do think the world is changing. I think we're getting more. We're getting more acceptable. It's more acceptable to to drink alcohol-free beers, and it's more acceptable to eat to be not eating meat. And that's another thing. I stopped eating meat 12 weeks ago for no plan, I watched David Attenborough's documentary and I'm like, thank God I'm looking at this now.
Made my kids watch it. It's amazing.
It's amazing, isn't it? But I got to a point, it was 2 weeks before Ibiza, and me and my brother were like, I eat meat at every meal, like literally lunch and dinner every time I have meat. So I was like, I'm going to have a little break. I've never done it ever. Like I said, I'm going to do 2 weeks before I go to Spain. And then I got to 2 weeks and I'm eating fish. But I was like, I'm going to do it in Spain. So I didn't eat in Spain. And then I've got back and I've still not done it. So I'm 12 weeks. I'm not saying I'm a vegetarian, but I've got no interest in that at the minute. Like I've not had any chicken or any. And you start to learn that you can live an interesting life by. But I mean, if I met someone and they were like, "So tell me about yourself," and I'm like, "Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, I'm a vegetarian, alcohol-free vegetarian right now." They'd be like, "What?" And even my head's going, "What? Is that me really?" But I do think the substitutes for meat, the substitutes for alcohol, the younger generations are more aware as well of the benefits of the negatives of these things. Like when I was 15, like you were growing up, no one was saying don't drink. It was get to the pub, and it was.
It's the same as you look at. We're all talking about mental health and recruitment with Ron D'Ambrosio and removing that stigma. And young people are now happy to talk about mental health and acknowledge it and remove the stigma. And it's the same with alcohol. Young people are accepting or basically saying it's cool to not get drunk.
Yeah.
Well, when I was growing up, it was cool to get drunk.
Exactly. I mean, I would say, different to you, I would say try, if I was going to give anyone advice, I would say try the Heineken Zero, or, there's one called Brooklyn Special Effects, which is just unbelievable. And I've got a couple in the fridge, and I've got this thing with football. I used to like just having a beer whilst watching the game. And by having one of them, I feel like there's that kind of placebo effect that I still get that. But, and they taste great, but you can have 4 or 5 of them and you can drive and you can wake up feeling great.
But mate, that's you. That's you. That works for you, but that advice for me is bordering on being bad advice.
So what would you think that would lead to you then having a real beer or something? What would happen?
No, I don't know. For me, I've drawn a line in the sand, and I've just drawn a line in the sand, and I will not cross that line.
Well, I'm talking about people that are maybe not where you are. They're more where I am. They're thinking about stepping into this world. I personally feel like by drinking alcohol-free beers, even in a bar, it feels less intimidating. It's less daunting. You can hold something that feels like a beer. You feel like you're in the group, but you're going to wake up feeling great tomorrow. You've got no cloud. You've got none of the negatives. And actually, calorie-wise, are about 20-30% of the calories of a beer. It's a good transition in, I think, that maybe wasn't as readily available.
I love the fact that it exists.
Yeah.
I love the fact that it's on the market. And it will get a lot of people out of a lot of shit, because a lot of people will be able to have a night out on those and not get in trouble and not wake up hungover and not do silly things. But mate, I just want to say if there's anybody watching this and they want to talk to somebody without judgment and obviously in confidence, who might have some answers, not all the answers, but some answers, then anybody in Australia, I'll stick my number below and please feel free.
What about in the UK? What about if they're in the UK? You're not going to talk to them? You banning say piss off? Or if they're in a different country?
I'd have to talk to them at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, well, we're doing it now.
When I'm getting my much needed sleep.
We're doing it now. We can, you might get someone who wants to speak to you late at night. But we'll work it out. But look, Pete, thank you so much, mate. Appreciate it. And I really hope anyone listening who does reach out to you and equally message me, and I'll put you in touch with Pete. I'll work out a time zone for you if he's not coming back to you. But these are big issues, mate, and these are really serious things that, even if one person feels as a result of listening to this that they make some conscious change, whether it's reducing alcohol, cutting alcohol, whatever, then it can only be a good thing. So thanks, and it takes a lot of bravery.
And bringing it back to the recruitment industry, which is kind of what this is all about. It's something that we don't. Like mental health and recruitment, it's something that we don't deal with responsibly in our industry. We're still an industry where, reward is,
hitting it hard. Biller's lunch, go and get pissed. Like there does need to be a bit of a revamp on the way you celebrate, for sure.
Yeah, that needs to change in time.
I think with COVID and the distributed workforce and people getting used to Zoom and things like that, I think there's more chance of that going that way. But we will see next year. We'll see how the world pans out.
We'll
But
see.
Pete, thanks so much for sharing it, mate. And I hope people
Pleasure.
enjoyed this show. Again, as always, I ask you, please share the show with someone you think might need to hear this. It's not, we don't charge you to listen, but we do want this show to get around the world. So send it via WhatsApp, text, email, whatever. If you know another recruitment owner you think would benefit from Pete's story, then please do get it out there. I'll be back again next Wednesday, with another episode. In the meantime, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.